Hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm going to show you how I make geode caves. So what I've done is I've been in the garden and I've collected this rather large rock. Now what I've done is I've taken some tin foil or aluminium foil and just coated all the way around it. Now as you can see at the bottom when I tip it over, there's a bit of a hole over here. So now what you have to do is take some more tin foil, aluminium foil, crumple it up and secure that so that when you put cement on, it's actually quite tight. I'm just going to put some masking tape on that, keep it in place. Now the only reason why I put the aluminium foil onto it is so that I can actually see where I want to cement. Right, once you've done that, you take some cling wrap and you cover the entire thing with cling wrap to keep everything in place. Because you see, if you just put the cling wrap on, you can't actually see where you want to cement. So that's why I do it like this. Foil is in place. Now this is going to be a two-step process because when you're doing the cement, you can't actually cement at the bottom here because otherwise you can't get this piece off. So now that we've got that all secured, you're going to add a generous amount of oil all over where you want to put your cement so that when it comes to take it off, it comes off easily. Right, so now I've mixed up the cement. As you can see, it's really, really thick. It's a bit like a clay consistency. I'm using white cement. At the moment it looks green, because when it's wet, it's green, but when it dries, it goes a beautiful white, so that you know that it's dry. Please wear gloves, because it does tend to eat your hands a bit. Right, so putting that aside, let's oil this. But as I said, you know, a generous amount of oil so that it comes off easily. So I've got just a rag dipped in some spent oil, and as you can see, it's really, really oily. And now we get to put our cement on. So when the cement is as thick as this, you've got to work quite quickly. So just take handfuls, and as I say, it's a bit like clay. Just start applying it to your oiled surface. You do need to have at least 2 centimeters of cement on top of it. As you can see, as soon as you wiggle it, it releases the water and makes it move a lot easier. And then we're going to put this aside to dry. Now normally, before we do anything, I like to dry it for at least a week. But 24 hours should dry it completely because it's not that thick. Now obviously this is the back of it, so you don't really worry too much about what it looks like. You know, the more jagged and uneven it is, the more natural it looks. It's been 48 hours since we put our cement on, and as you can see, it's still green, which means that it's wet. So I'm going to have to wait another maybe 24 hours for it to dry completely before we can move on to the next step. Now, having all this aluminium on it and the plastic really, really well oiled, it comes out really quite easily. I had to actually get some help to take it out because it is so heavy. It probably weighs about 20 kilos when the rock and the cement are both together. So when you're putting your rock in, try and pad it quite well around the sides with the aluminium foil so that the rock comes away freely. So the cement is completely dry now. Now we're going to try and tint the inside. I'm just using this tie-dye set, and I'm going to use the purple dye in a little bit of water, and then we're just going to paint it on. and see what happens. So I've just added 1 squirt of the purple dye into some water, and now we're going to paint it on. I think it could be a little bit darker, so I'm just going to add some more colour to that. Right, so I've added a little bit more colour to it, and we'll see if that makes it a lot better in the colour. I don't know whether the cement is actually going to tint, but we're going to give it a go. We don't want to go too high up because normally the top of the crystals are always white. Where the liquid has pooled, I'm going to leave that so that it will soak and make it a more dark colour. And you just put that aside to dry for at least 6 to 8 hours. Sorry, it's a little bit dark with the shadow it's casting, but what I'm doing now is I'm just drawing around the sides and in the front here on a piece of spare wood that I've got to know where I want to cut it so that it comes just around the crystal, because I don't want too much wood in it. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I've cut the little piece of wood out to fit at the bottom so I can give it a nice base to stand on, and now we're going to put the cement on it. So once again we're using really thick cement like that so that it sticks nicely to it. That's really gives us a good bond. So let's put that in now. Make sure that you wear gloves. So at the moment we don't want too much of the cement on the inside because we're going to do that later. So now we're just building up the outside so that it gives us a uniform shape. That's looking quite good. Now we're going to set that aside to dry. The cement's been dry for a week now, and now we get to paint the back of it. So what I've got is grey paint. If you don't have grey, just mix some black and white together and you will get a nice grey. And to that I'm going to add hooker green, which is just an artist's paint in acrylic, so that we've got a greenish grey to paint that on. Right, so as you can see I've got grey and the green, and then we're just going to blend that together to get a green grey. Because this is such a big cave, to paint it all, the paint will dry out before I get a chance to do what I want to do. So I've just got a little spray bottle that I'm just going to wet the paint a little bit. And once again, taking your paper towel, we're going to try and take some of the paint off so it looks, oh, that's looking better. So that it looks more like natural rock than just a painted surface. So I just made this little mould, and now we're going to put some of our crystals in so that we can make a mould. So make it quite deep so that when you push the crystals in, you get a nice mould around it. You can put as many crystals in as you want, different sizes. Just make sure that they don't come out the bottom. These are just genuine amethyst crystals, but now I want a fairly big one, so unfortunately it's on a wand, so I'm going to have to hold it by placing it in like that. It doesn't take very long for it to set, so there's a little bit more space that I can actually put some more in. So we put some more in there, and that's how you make your mould for your crystals. So after half an hour, our little mould is all set and dry, so that's what it's looking like. And now we can just take the crystals out, and we should have quite a nice mould of what the crystals look like. Now we have the shape of the crystals, and then we're going to make some cement and just pour them into there, and then we've got our crystals to use in our big cave. So when you want to make purple paint, I'm using ultramarine deep blue and some hot pink or fluoro pink. It depends on what colour purple that you want. So now just remember the blue is more dominant, so don't put too much blue. So just a little bit of blue, and I'm going to actually use the fluoro pink. So a little bit more of the fluoro pink, and then we're just going to mix that and see if we can get a nice purple. Right, so as you can see, it's going quite nice and purple. We're going to take this purple and we're going to put it into a little bit of water, just like that, and then we're going to mix that into our cement. So I've got some white cement. Right, so as you can see, it's quite watery, and now we're just going to take our little silicone mould that we made. I've just got it in a takeaway container, and then we're just going to add the cement into it. But now what you want to do is give it a good tap. There you go, just to get rid of all the bubbles, and then just fill it up some more. And give it another tap, and then put it aside to dry. It's been 24 hours now, and the cement is all dried in our little silicone mould. As you can see, all the colour has gone into the silicone mould, which was white before, now it's pink. So this, I've taken a few of them out already, just giving you an idea of what they look like. As you can see, they look just like a crystal. All you have to do is you just push the back of it, and they just pop out, and then we'll paint these ones later. I'm mixing the paints together so that we've got a nice purple. So what I've got is titanium white, some Mars black, ultramarine deep, hot pink, probably preferable if you've got magenta, and fluoro pink. So we're trying to get 4 different shades of purple. So we need some really, really dark colour purple, going to the lighter colours. Just going to move the camera in a little bit closer. I don't know whether you're actually going to be able to see what the colours look like. So the first 2 we're going to take is some of the hot pink and blue, and mix that together, and we get quite a nice purple. Not quite the colour purple that we want, so we're going to add a bit of fluoro pink to that. So now that's looking a lot better. So that will be one of the shades. For the next one, we're going to take a bit of the blue, some hot pink, some fluoro pink, and a little tiny bit of black, so we can get a really, really nice deep purple. Right. So that would be one of the deeper colour purples that we want. And now we want a lighter shade than that one, so we're going to take a bit of blue, some hot pink, fluoro pink, and a wee bit of white. So that's still a little bit too blue, too dark, so a little bit more fluoro pink. Tiny bit more white. And there's our third colour. Now we want to get one that's even lighter than that, so what we're going to do is take just a tiny bit of blue and a lot of the pinks. So I want that even lighter, so we add more pink. So that's our 4 colours of the range of purples that we're going to be using, which I've painted in the dark. Then we've got the one that comes in the lighter shade, and the next lot will be done in the 2 even lighter shades. For the very pale colour crystals that I want, I've taken some cobalt blue, magenta, and mixed it to get that lovely purple. Then I've added white to get it even lighter, so when we paint the crystal it looks like that. And then we're just going to add some of this purple hue to some of the sides, so when it's dry they look like that. Once again, we're going to be using really, really thick cement like that, so that we can do a bed here. So I'm just working in small quantities, and we're going to lay that down, so like that. So we're just putting it in like that, and now we're going to put our little pieces in. Now when you're putting it at the back, take the crystal and make sure that you are putting it at an angle. You don't want to plant it upright like that. You want to put it in at an angle so that it looks like it's actually growing out of there. And then we continue and replace all the others. As you can see, working in very, very small sections, and make sure that you try and get them as close as possible so that they're all standing in the same direction. And we just have to do the balance of it. So as I said, working in very small sections. What I'm doing now is I'm just filling in where there's any white spots that are shining through at the bottom. So you want to cover all the little white pieces of cement. So just can't get any closer for you to see because it's a bit dark in there now. But as you can see, there's a few little white spots which we need to cover. Because some of the gaps are really, really small to get into, I've got this tiny, tiny little brush. It's just a nail art brush, and as you can see, it's like really, really, really fine. And it's not very long, but I find that works really well to get into the small sections. As you can see on the inside of the cave, I've painted it so that I know which colours that I want to put. So as you can see, it's like got various different colours. So where the darks are, that's where the dark crystals are going to go, and where the light one, that's where we're going to put the light ones. So here you can see we've placed quite a lot in there. We've got a lot more to go. So I've turned the cave around now so that you can see what I'm doing. So what I've got is I've got some cobalt blue and magenta, and we're just going to mix it together to get a nice purple. So that's pretty much the colour that I'm looking for. Just here. And then we're going to take a really fine paintbrush and we're going to try and paint the crystals so that they look like they're actually extending from the crystal actually into the bedding. So as you can see, this crystal here, it stops there and it's all white. So what we're going to do is just extend it just a little bit so that it looks like it's actually growing out. Not too much, don't put too much colour to it because you don't want too much colour, because we need to put some white in. Same as this one. And so on. So you just continue doing all of the crystals like that. I'm halfway there. Just thought I'd give you a look, show you what it's looking like. As you can see, I've painted the bottom. It's looking rather realistic. Still haven't painted the sides, so you can see the difference on the side to the bottom. But we're almost there. All the faux crystals are now in that we made out of the cement. Now we're going to use some of the little pieces that we tied with the material, with the wool. So that's one of the pieces that was made, and another few pieces there, and we've got a whole collection of them in there that we're going to choose which ones we're going to use. Now we're going to paint the clear coat on. And then just continue until you've done everything. As you can see, the first coat has really brought it to life. So I like to do 3 thin coats on it so that it'll get a really nice brilliant shine to it. And when you're painting this section at the bottom here, it's only this part that is shiny. The dark grey is never shiny, it's always a matte colour, so don't put the gloss on that. I've turned the cave upright now so that I can paint the 3rd layer on, so that I can get places that I didn't get on the first 2 layers. So just try and dab it on so you don't mess up any of the paintwork, and then just continue until you've completed the whole thing. So I've decided I'm going to use this particular little crystal, which is the one that we made with the borax. So that's what it looks like close up, and I'm just going to cut it and put it in the back. So after trying it in the back, I decided it was a little bit lost there, so I'm going to place it just over there where it fits in quite well. So we'll silicone that in like that. The other piece that I'm going to be using is this little one here, and I'm going to be just gluing it or silicone it just in there like that. So after going through the crystals and choosing one of them and placing it inside the cave, the borax have grown into a crystal that looks like the Virgin Mary holding Jesus. Couldn't grow that even if I tried. But anyway, I have that in my cave now. So what I'm doing now is I've decided not to go with the genuine crystals. I'm just using the cement ones that we made, and I'm gluing them around the side. I'm doing them unpainted so I can see what colour we're going to paint them when it's all completed. So now starting on this side here, on the top crystals, because these ones all go into making crystals, over here we're going to just do a white line against the grey. So just using your titanium and white and just putting a bit in. You're not going to notice it very much because of the white cement, but nevertheless we're going to still put it in. Also, try not to do straight lines, we just want it all a bit jagged. Then take a dry brush and just blend it in so that it's not too much of a straight edge, so it's a bit blended. And then on some of the grey parts, just put a few little white markings on it so that it looks like some of the crystal has grown through the back. So once again, when it comes to painting the outside, we've got our 3 different shades of grey, dark, slightly lighter by taking the original and adding a bit of white, and going to a much lighter one, and then we've got white. Doesn't look like white there, but it's white, titanium white. Unfortunately, all my footage was corrupted for this very important part. So what you have to do is, you'll notice that the crystals are all uneven. Take some cement and smooth it all out as smooth as you can get it. I placed laminated surface onto it to give it a really glossy, smooth finish, and then I painted it to look like agate or agate. As you'll see in some of the photos that I'm showing, that is what the final finish looks like. Unfortunately, my footage was all corrupted. I hope you can understand. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.